Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to an author deep dive. Now, I haven't been able to do an author deep dive in quite a while, and that's two reasons. One reason, I've kind of already done it for my very favorite authors that I've read 90% of their books, because when I do author deep dives, you know, they got to be an author that has a pretty significant backlist, and they also have to be a backlist that I have read a good amount of it. So I think I've done about 10 of them. I've done a couple historical, I've done dark romance. And so I will have that playlist for my author deep dives listed there. But this is for an author that I don't think anyone's done a deep dive for her yet. And she's also one of my dearest friends in the book community. Like, no joke. I love this woman so much, which you already know because you clicked on it. So we're talking about Juliette Cross. I finally got in my book boyfriend swag. It's hard to get all 6 of them on a picture, but we definitely will get to Stay a Spell, of course. But we're going to be going back to the beginning with her and start with her first series. I'll tell you about the ones that I have read, give you a little bit of background even on the ones that I haven't read, and just help you to get excited as well. If all goes well, this video will be going up the day that Resting Witch Face, that always trips me up, when Resting Witch Face goes live. So if you either have only read her Stay a Spell and you are now caught up and you're dying for Grim and Barrett, which believe me, I get it, I can't wait, but you would like to check out some of her other stuff, because I gotta tell you, it's all romance, it's all fantasy or paranormal, except for her very newest stuff. And it's all like just as full of chemistry and spice and possessive heroes, you know, magical creatures. Like, it's amazing. So I definitely can't wait to share that all with you today. So we're gonna go in for it. But first I want to tell you a little bit about Juliette, just in case you don't know. By the way, during this, I have all my notes sitting up right here. So when I look over here, that's why. Don't want to mess anything up. But she is an author. She's been writing for about 10 years now, or publishing about that. And she is best known for the Stay a Spell series, which we all know that's probably why we're all here. But she also is a co-host of the Smart Women Read Romance podcast with her niece and my good friend Jenn. And that's actually how I found Juliette. I started listening to that podcast before I ever read any of her books. And then I loved listening to them talk about romance so much that it took me a long time to read any of her books because I was afraid of not liking them. But then we actually started talking about books together. We started talking about our very first love was Carter Mahoney. I got the two of them to read this book. And then there was Mafia. And so I talked with Juliette about Mafia when Jenn couldn't keep up with us, which was amazing. But yes, so she is a native to Louisiana, and she lives in the heart of Cajun land with her husband, 4 kids, and all their animals. And when she isn't working on her next project, she enjoys binge watching her favorite TV shows and a glass of wine or whiskey. And I gotta tell you, I've had some really fun conversations with Juliette about Yellowstone, which I have a video about Yellowstone coming out shortly. And her and Kevin will be drinking whiskey, and she'll be chatting it up with me about Yellowstone, and we have a great time. So there is no pretense here. I'm very good friends with Juliette, so I'm a little bit biased, but I will be telling you which of her series are my favorite, because I've read, as I said, a good amount of her backlist. There's actually only one series that I haven't read any of the books in, and I do plan to get to it, but I wanted to get this video out as kind of a like gift to her, as a surprise, as a thank you for everything I love that she has done. And I thought the release of Resting Witch Face was the perfect time. So I'll tell you which of her series I've enjoyed the most, and, you know, kind of give you an idea of where you might want to go after reading Stay a Spell, what might be the best series that kind of like not compares with it, because nothing quite compares with Stay a Spell. I mean, she will tell you herself, like, it's her best work. It's the thing she's loved writing the most, but there definitely are no slouches in her backlist either. So let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so her first trilogy, the first series that she put out, she actually just recently had it recovered and redone a little bit because she got the rights back to this trilogy. So in the beginning, Juliette published with a, you know, like small press publisher, and so all of her books, you know, belong to them. And since she's been getting more success lately, you know, those books have been being pushed a little bit more. There's audiobooks being made for them, which is great. But some books that she actually did end up getting the rights back to because they weren't selling enough is the Vessel Trilogy. And so these originally had covers that looked like this, which aren't horrible, but they definitely fit into a certain time, right? And so what she did is she actually got these back, and look at this cover. This is gorgeous. So this is Forged in Fire, Sealed in Sin, and Bound in Black. So these are absolutely gorgeous. And what she did do is these read a bit more like YA new adult when they came out. And when she got these back, she did a general kind of edit and revamp to the whole series. So there is a plot, I'm going to tell you about the plot in a second, but there are some like points to this plot where there like can't be sex happening in the beginning because of reasons, but she definitely did ramp it up and change things just a little bit. So there is now some steam, especially in these two books. But I mean, the story's so great, and the sexual tension and chemistry between the characters in this is like, it's enough to keep me going. So this is actually, this trilogy is all about the same couple. And in Forged in Fire, our heroine, who is Genevieve Drake, she finds out that she is the Vessel. And there we go. And the Vessel, who's born to serve the light, but if the wrong people get a hold of her, she could serve the dark as well. She could be turned to the dark. So she ends up being guarded by Jude Delacroix, sorry. It's Cajun, it's French, sorry if I said that wrong. And he is what is called a Dominus Daemonum, or Master of Demons, and he's now her guardian, whether she likes it or not. And so there's a lot of chemistry between them. So he's supposed to guard her and protect her and keep her from being taken by the darkness, which would be like the demons. And of course, there's crazy sexual chemistry between her. But actually, to be the Vessel and to not be corrupted, she has to be pure in like all ways. So now you can understand why there wouldn't be any smexiness happening in this one. However, you know, there are ways for sex to still be pure and to be considered holy, if you catch my drift, that may happen in these books. But yeah, so this trilogy was a lot of fun. I'll be honest, I haven't read this one yet. I read these when they were being re-released, but the time when these were coming out, I got a little wrapped up. But now that I got the physical copies of these, I actually got them in the Target sale. They're so pretty. I plan to dive into this one because reading books by Juliette is always a treat for me. So this is her first trilogy. I definitely recommend it if you liked a lot of the like YA books that were coming out, you know, like in 2011, 2012. It definitely has the vibe of some of those, but because it's Juliette, it does get spicier than that. Because these went from being like I said, they definitely were like free of steam, to being, you know, they get their way. And Jude, he's a possessive hero, all right? Okay? We get there with it. We get there with it. That fucking car is gonna drive me crazy. Okay, so next we have this series that I haven't read any of these ones at all. So just being honest with that. But this series was called the Dominion series, and this series spins off or connects with the Vessel Trilogy. And so this one deals with like angels and demons. And like I said, since I haven't read this series yet, I don't have much to offer on it. I do know that these ones are still with that publisher, and the audiobooks are being released for these. I think they've gotten new covers. I'm not sure. They went through a couple iterations, but these books are The Deepest Well, The Darkest Heart, Hardest Fall, and Coldest Fire. And so those are the books within there. Now, she did write The Deepest Well, and then some books in her other series were coming out, and we're going to go into actually the first books I read outside of the Stay a Spell, because I found out that there was a connection that made me very excited. Not a connection between the Stay a Spell and this, but you'll see what I mean. So then we have the Nightwing series, which was more of a trilogy, and these are like novella length. These audiobooks, you can actually get them on AnyPlay right now. That's where I listen to them at. And they're just little shorties. Like, the audiobooks are only like 4 or 5 hours. They're really quick. And they're actually read by, and now I can't remember the narrator's name. I should have wrote it down. But they're actually read by a narrator that I really like too. So that's really exciting. But these series are her Morgan series. So they are dragons. They're dragons. It's amazing. So first it starts with Soulfire. And this one is about Lucius and Jesson. That's right. This heroine, her name is Jesson Cade, and, well, we know who she was named after, and that just tickled me pink. Although, I will say, because I know that this character was named after Jesson, there is another character in a book later on we'll get to that is actually even more, like, based on Jesson's personality, which I just love. Okay, I love that I know this and that I know these details. But this is the first book in this series. So it starts off with Jesson Cade and Lucius Nightwing. And so she's a human, and she's the daughter of this, like, wealthy businessman, and she knows that she's supposed to be in, like, an arranged marriage eventually, so her future's all planned out for her. And then when she is in this bar room, she's not in the barroom brawl, but she gets caught up in one. She ends up, like, falling into Lucius's arms, and Lucius's, I can't say it, his dragon recognizes her as his match, because guess what? There's fated mates in this series, which will be a theme that Juliette comes back to, because it's just one of the best themes in paranormal fantasy. I love fated mates. And so things get really complicated because there is a lot of prejudice against the Morgans, and there are humans who want them to be subjugated or destroyed or locked up because they think they're animals who can hurt them. And Jesson, being the daughter of a wealthy businessman who's definitely against them, this is going to lead to some sticky situations. But you can't fight against a fated mate, okay? You just can't. And this book was surprisingly spicy, and I just enjoyed it so much, especially because, you know, just thinking, like, I went from reading, like, Witches Get Stitches, some of her newest work, to reading Soulfire, which came out in 2014. So I had no idea what to expect or, like, how much Juliette's writing had grown. And you can definitely still see it, especially, again, I'll say it, in her heroes. Her heroes are very possessive, and her heroines are very smart and sassy. And so that's always going to be there no matter which series we're talking about with her. So then as we go through the series, though, we have Windburn, which is about Sorcha and Lorien. And I believe, see, I didn't write this down for all of these ones, sorry, but Lorien, I believe, is Lucius's brother, because, yeah, I think it's Lorien Nightwing, and Sorcha is friends with Jesson. I think they're friends, and so this is their match. And then we have Nightbloom, which is Paxson and Ella, and I think Paxson is a relative as well, because I think he's also Nightwing. Not 100% sure about that one either. It's been a while since I've read these ones. But what I would recommend this series, particularly Soulfire, okay? There are some particular scenes in this book that made me think of some other fantasy fated mate books that I really like. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed this series. The audiobooks were really great, and I got through these very quickly. So these were a lot of fun. And then after this series, it leads us into the Veil of Star series, which directly spins off of the Nightwing series. Like, they go right from each other. And in fact, we first have Demetrius Cade, who is Jesson's brother. So we have this novella called Dragon Heartstring, which is about Shakara and Demetrius. And so this one is kind of a novella that starts the series off, and Heartstring is like what your mate is called, like when you find your mate, like there's like string connecting your hearts kind of thing. So that's where that comes from. But this is our first pairing where there's a Morgan female and a human male, and I really loved that. And then we go forward a few years and we have Waking the Dragon, and this one is about Moira and Cole. And now Moira is the younger sister of Demetrius and Jesson, and she is a journalist and reporter. She's the senior like editor, I think it's for her college paper, and she is looking into these deaths of human women. There have been these really violent deaths that have been happening. And so we have Cole Moonring, who is a investigator and works with, I think it's like Nightwing Securities or whatever. It's what Lucius and his family like owns. And so because Moira is not going to be turned away from looking into this, Cole kind of gets assigned to be a bodyguard for her while they're looking into what's happening here. Then we have Dragon in the Blood, which I actually have a copy of this one. And this one is about Vala and Khan. And she is a assassin for the Order of Morgan Guards, and she is leading an expedition through the wastelands of Aria. And then she gets partnered with another person from Nightwing Security whose name is Con Rowan Flame, and he is super aggravating to her, and so there's a lot of like sexual tension, and there is basically like road tripping because they're going on this mission together, and there's some like only one sleeping bag type of thing or huddle together for warmth type of situations. It's a good time. It's a good time. Then there is Dragonfire. Now, Dragonfire and Hunt of the Dragon I haven't read. So in this series, this was the last one that I had read. So there is Dragonfire, and this is Kieran and Liana. And this one says that it's about a wounded Morgan who is hiding out in a convent while he heals. And so we have Sister Liana, who is helping him convalesce, but she may have more secrets than we know about. So very intrigued by that one. And then Hunt of the Dragon is the last one in this series, and this one actually just came out in 2021. Juliette made some people wait quite a long time because she got caught up with, you know, a little series called Stay a Spell. So this one just came out last year, actually. And this one is about a deadly assassin whose name is Bowen. And he is he's an assassin, and he's in search of the Bloodback witch who killed his sister in a blood sacrifice. And then we have Carissa, who is a photojournalist, and she's venturing into the wilderness to record the destruction of a war, of an army that's happening. And so they get paired together. And then his dragon starts coming to life for her, so we know Fated Mates is happening. So those are the books that all have to deal with her dragons, and they're a lot of fun. Like I said, Fated Mates, fantasy. My favorites of the ones I read really were the Nightwing trilogy. I really liked those, and Dragon Heartstring. Waking the Dragon and Dragon in the Blood didn't quite catch me as much as the other ones did. I don't know, I was just really struck by the couples in the earlier ones. But yeah, so that's my honest opinion of those. I still think they're fun. I love the covers of these. I want to own this whole series because I want to own all of Juliette's books. But there we go. If you like dragons, that's a good one for you. Okay, next we move into my favorite series outside of Stay a Spell. Okay, I just read these ones earlier this year, and I love them. And this is a series that I think is criminally underappreciated, especially because vampires are always in. Okay, vampires are always in, and especially if you love fairy tale retellings and just sexiness. Okay, these are amazing. And so this is the Vampire Blood series, and it starts with the Black Lily, aka this is the fairy tale retelling series. So this one is a Cinderella retelling where we have Cinderella, aka Arabella, who is the Black Lily. She is the head of this rebellion against the vampire royals who've been abusing humans and mistreating them and using them as blood bags, and the humans live in fear. There's been deaths of of the many humans that just go unanswered for because the top royals just rule everything. And so Arabella goes to this vampire ball that's happening, and she's able to get Prince Marius alone, so vampire prince, and she's very intrigued by him, but she has a mission. She's there to kill him. And so she tries to stab him, but it doesn't work. But she is able to get away, but her dagger gets left behind, and he's super intrigued by this girl. So he is trying to find this woman who stole his heart, almost staked him through the heart, and he wants to know more about her. And once he catches up to her and discovers what's going on, he must have her. And he agrees with a lot of what she's saying. And so, bit of a spoiler alert, because we're going to talk about the Red Lily, and it's going to spoil this a little bit, but Marius actually joins the Black Lily and becomes the traitor prince. Because then we have the Red Lily, which is a Red Riding Hood retelling, and we have Sienna, who lives in the wood with her, I think they're called Heart Wolves. The Red Lily's the only one in the series I don't have yet, so. But she is doing everything she can to help the cause of the Black Lily. I believe she's friends with Arabella, but also she's just doing whatever she can to fight back. And really her woods are a place that if the vampires come in, they're not welcome in there. We'll just say that. Because they're keeping people safe there. And so then we have Nikolai, who is a lieutenant and now like a traitor along with his prince, because he left with Prince Marius, and he gets sent to try to ask for her assistance to gain the trust of the Commonwealth for the side of Marius and Arabella. And so it's kind of the last thing she wants to do. She wants to stay safe in her woods and be there. And the thought of leaving is really terrifying for her, but she feels this crazy connection with Nikolai. And yeah, by the way, the Heart Wolves, again, I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. I'm sorry for calling them the wrong thing. They are so badass. Okay. Like, think like Jacob from Twilight side, like just like giant wolves. Okay. And they're like sentient. It's a good time. It's a good time. All right, then we have the White Lily, and this one is a Snow White retelling. So the White Lily is our, oh, I totally called it the wrong thing. Yeah, Sienna was the Red Lily. This is Brenna Lynn, goes by Brenna, and she is a school teacher, and she is on a mission to help the Black Lily, and her plan is to spy on the Duke of Winterhill, Frederick. And so she actually like goes to the castle. She's pretending she wants to be a like blood part. I forgot what this is called too. Sorry, I didn't write it down, but you can kind of decide to be like a blood donor type thing for the vampires and sometimes get benefits. Like you can become one of their like blood harem and become like get benefits for doing that. But really she just wants to sneak in and kind of get the lay of the land so she can spy on him. The only thing is, he gets really intrigued by her, and when he goes to hunt her down afterwards, he discovers that she wants to help the Commonwealth and bring justice to the many orphans who've been left behind. And in fact, she's actually adopted 7 orphans who their parents have died fighting in the rebellion. So this is where it's like Snow White and the 7 dwarves, and the 7 dwarves are the children that she's adopted. And I gotta tell you, this one is my favorite one in the series. No joke. I love like the themes of like adoption and caring, and I love that Brenna, even though she's not even that much older than some of the oldest kids she's adopted, she just takes them in, she gives everything she has, and she's looking out for them. And those kids do get put in danger sometimes in this book, so be warned, there is danger to children as a trigger warning for this one. All of this series is a little bit gory too. I just want to put that out there. There is some trigger warnings for that to be mindful of, but it's good. It makes the stakes high. Like, these are definitely adult fantasy. Like, they really are. Don't let the pretty object cover fool you, you know. And so when she comes to the attention of the royals, because now they're finding out what she's doing, she has to basically become Frederick's mistress, so that he can protect her and the children. Yeah, but this one's great. I love it. I love it so much. And then the final book in this series is The Emerald Lily, and this one is a Sleeping Beauty retelling. And we actually have a vampire princess who we've heard of her in earlier books where I believe she wanted to rebel against the royals, and as punishment, Princess Wilhelmina Dragonmere is put in this hellish partial sleep where she's being kept in a tower. She's a vampire princess, so she's been starved to the point where like they give her 1 drop of blood, like I can't remember if it's weekly or monthly, but just enough to keep her alive but in this sleep and never able to like wake up unless someone would feed her enough. And so we have our captain of the Blood Guard, Mikhail Romanoff, gets sent to recruit, and I believe they want Wilhelmina's help for this. We're calling her, do we call her Willa? Sorry, Mina. Do we call her Mina? Yes, we call her Mina. There's a nickname for everybody. You gotta love it. And so he gets sent to wake her. And how does he wake her but let her bite him and drink from him? Now, of course, that is a very sexual experience. That's why, you know, the vampire royal men, they're always looking for pretty ladies to be a part of their blood harem. And there's instantly this connection between them. But he isn't going to be able to be good enough for her. So this gut-wrenching attraction that he feels for her, he's like, oh no, we can't do anything with this. But of course, stuff's going to happen. So I really enjoyed this one as well. So that one's like Sleeping Beauty. So yeah, this is the Vampire Blood series, and there are audiobooks for this coming out as well. I actually got an ARC from Juliette for the audio, because this is another series that is held by her publisher too. They're the ones who recovered these. And so they're making them into audio. But I haven't listened to them yet, and mostly because I had only just read this series, so I wasn't really in a mood to reread. But the audios for these, I think the first 2 are out already, so Black Lily and Red Lily, so you can listen to these ones as well. Okay, there we go, y'all. That is everything leading up to the Stay a Spell. Now, before I go into Stay a Spell, because I'm going to round this out, we will talk about 2 kind of, currently they're standalones, but they will be part of series that are going to be coming. We'll talk about those first because they kind of pop in between the Stay a Spell. But we have Parks and Provocation, which came out earlier this year, and this was done in conjunction with Smarty Pants Romance. So this is technically part of, I think it's called like Everyday Heroes or Sweet Valley Heroes, not Sweet Valley Heroes, but it's part of that. And this one is about firefighter Jenn and Lola, who actually has a podcast, which is fun. And they were actually knew each other in the past, and now they reconnect when Lola locks her keys in her car, and Jed is the one sent to help her get it out, and he'll only help her if she agrees to go on a date with him. And then she decides she wants to use that as like for her podcast, because she podcasts about like dates, but she only goes on first dates. And Jed is like, I want more than one date because this was just a joke to you and I want it to be better. And so Jed really goes for it, which I love. And then there was also Bright Like Wildfire, and this will be a part of a series that she's doing for sure. And this one was so much fun. I love this cover, and this, I forgot to write down what the series name is going to be called. I think Beauville. Yeah, remember, this is going to be the Beauville series. And this is about Betty and Bennett. And this is actually a theater nerd's dream, okay? Betty and Bennett are going to be in a community theater production of A Midsummer's Night's Dream. Is that what it is? I think so. And Betty sees Bennett as an enemy since they were young, and Bennett isn't quite sure why, but when they both get the leads in this play, they need to spend time together rehearsing. And Betty and Bennett, like Bennett wants to get to the bottom of why she thinks they're enemies, because he doesn't feel like they are, but she is putting off enemy energy to him and he doesn't know why. He doesn't know what's going on. And this one gets nice and spicy, including some butt stuff. Just saying, Juliette put it in here. It happened. Okay, so now we're going to go to Stay a Spell. Okay, we're going to do it. We're going to round it off with it, including for Resting Witch Face, which just came out today. So, Stay a Spell started in 2020, and it started with good old Wolf Gone Wild, which, yes, I'm going to show the art. I show it all the time, which is Evie and Mateo and Alpha. We count it. We count it. We count it. This series, you guys, this is a series that is boosting Juliette into superstardom. Yes, I said it. I called it. I'm speaking the words. It's going to happen. I'm making it happen. Okay, it's me. That's what this video is. We're making it happen. But this series is everything. It's so charming, it's cozy, it's sweet, it's spicy, it's funny, it's nerdy. It's a little bit dark sometimes, just a little bit of sprinkle, and it's a family of 6 sisters, the Savoy sisters. They are witches in New Orleans, and they all have different powers, and they all start meeting their fated mates starting in 2020 with Evie. And Evie is a hex breaker, and when werewolf Mateo, look, there's my book bay right there, when he comes to her because he is having trouble letting his wolf out, there's a hex that's been put on him. Now the Savoy sisters and witches in general, they don't generally help werewolves with anything. Okay, there are 4 supernatural creatures. We have the witches, the grims, the vampires, and the werewolves, and the werewolves are kind of the odd man out. Okay, they're seen as just something under the bottom of our shoe. They're seen as completely giving into their baser instincts, and we just don't help them. But Mateo, our sweet, precious baby, he has an artist's soul, literally. He's an artist. He makes sculptures out of iron and steel, and it's amazing. And his wolf, Alpha, is driving him crazy, okay? Where is he at? Where is he at? Let me get him out. Alpha can't come out when he's supposed to, okay? And so he's driving Mateo crazy, and so he needs help. And so he goes to the Savoy sisters. He hears there's someone to ask, and again, like Jules, who is the head of the sisters, the oldest, and an enforcer, which we're gonna get to her, okay, we're gonna get to her. She's like, we don't work with werewolves. And Evie's like, but he seems so nice, and shouldn't we try? And Jules is like, you're right, he does seem nice, let's figure out what's going on. And so Evie ends up spending lots of time with Mateo, also because she helps calm his wolf, and he doesn't understand why, even though Alpha is like, she's ours. That's why she helps calm me down. Are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? Because he's not listening to him. Alpha knows what everybody else is missing, okay? But absolutely love this. It's so charming. This book wins people over. Don't be fooled by the cover. This is spicy. The first book, it has the least amount of spice, but we do ramp it up in each book from here, just so you know. But it's still delightful. You gotta do it. You got it. There's audiobook out for this. These are currently in KU. It's time to read it. It's time, okay? Next, we have Don't Hexen Drive, okay? And in this, we meet Isadora, who I said we'd get back to Jessin. The personality and like introvertedness of Isadora is definitely based on Jessin, just a little bit there, a little inspiration. And Devraj is our first vampire that we meet. Devraj, there he is. And Isadora, like, she's just so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Now, this starts out with them meeting by Devraj hitting Isadora with his car because she's driving her bike in a very low light, and she gets a little love tap from him, and her precious plants fall out of the basket of her bike. And so he takes her home to her sisters. He's very, very sorry. And we discover that he is in town because he has a special power. He's a Stygorn, which means he is a super powerful vampire warrior who works with the vampire overlord of New Orleans, whose name is Ruben, who we'll get back to Ruben later too. And so he comes into town because there is some bad stuff happening, and he gets called in to help with it. And him and Isadora have this crazy connection. He is also been in Bollywood films, so there's a little bit of fun having to do with that. Love it. And they just have this crazy connection, and he ends up being their like neighbor or something. He's like literally just right there all the time. And so Isadora, she has conduit powers of growth and healing. Sorry, had to look this up sometimes. It's been a while since I read this one. And so she is being asked to help with that. And so these two, it's just great. It's so cute. This one's so cute. We love it. We love it. Then we have Witches Get Stitches, book 3. And in this one, we meet Violet and Nico. Okay, Nico is a werewolf. This is our second werewolf. And he is actually Mateo's cousin. And so him and Violet actually have an interaction at, I think it's at New Year's Eve one year. And she has this crazy connection with him. And Violet is like, nope, nothing's happening with this. And so she doesn't contact him, but then he ends up in New Orleans anyway, and he's there all the time. And in fact, they become business partners together. Now, Violet, she is a seer, and she has really potent magic to cast every kind of spell. So she is super powerful. And she's also a tattoo artist, and she is looking for a cure for the werewolf curse, as it were. And so she is trying to find a way to help them be able to be in more control of their beast. And actually the way that Mateo is, by the end of his book, he has a better relationship with Alpha and with control over his wolf. And Violet wants to be able to do that. And so her and Nico, like I said, they're business partners. And also Nico knows that she's his fated mate and that something's supposed to happen. And Violet, she does a tarot reading for herself, which she should not do. And she believes that there is like no hope for her and Nico. So she is very strongly trying to keep him away. But of course, that's not going to last too long. And then the kind of problems that we're having in this is that there is this former pack, which is actually Nico's former pack, that is in New Orleans and causing problems. And that's not allowed. Remember, like, there's a reason why we have problems with werewolves before, and so we don't want them causing any problems. But we'll see how this one works out. This one is really great. And this one is a friends to lovers, because they become friends and business partners, and Nico is just biding his time, okay? Then we had Walking in a Witchy Wonderland come out. This came out after book 3 and before Always Practice Safe Hex. And so this one had 5 different little stories in it. It had a quick little check-in with each of our couples so far. It had a peek ahead at the next book. And then it also has a short story about Charlie and JJ, who was Juliette's first same-sex couple. And they were a couple that we knew had some things going on. And so we get to see them when it tipped over from friends into lovers. And it's really cute. But yeah, so yeah, we get a peek at everybody else. And basically it's just a really horny time. Let's just say that. Like, it's like Walking in a Witchy Wonderland is just all the horny goodness. And we were happy about it. Okay, we were happy about it. So there was this one. Then we got to Always Practice Safe Hex. And this came out this year. And this book is about Livy and Gareth. Now, Gareth is our first Grimm, okay? We don't know enough about the Grimms. We've been wanting to know stuff about the Grimms. We've seen Gareth and Livy have some interactions before, and it was very much like animosity. And we're not quite sure why there was animosity. Just, she got a bad vibe off of him. She thought he was cocky. She thought he was bossy. I mean, and he is those things. And also just because we don't fully understand Grimms. So they really keep to themselves. You know, they don't get involved in a lot, but we know they're very powerful. That's what we know. But we don't know enough, you know? But when things start to happen, at the beginning of this book, we have Livy and Gareth end up working together in a public relations contest. It's these two and then another poor guy who gets swept up into all of it. There's also a creepy guy who's like in charge of them as part of this thing, which he is a total perv and we don't like him. But these two, or the 3 that are working in this group, they're working on this project, and Gareth nominates that they try to bring about funding and try to bring about change for supernatural foster kids, because Gareth was actually in foster care as a young Grimm, and he was in the human foster care system, and so they know about supernaturals to a certain degree, so they would try to put them with people who were okay with having supernaturals with them, but it doesn't always work out great for the kids who are put in there. And so Gareth really has a heart for that, and that really moves Livy. Also, Gareth knows that they have amazing sexual chemistry, and he's like, girl, you gonna be in my bed. You gonna be in my bed. So why are you fighting so hard? And Livy's like, I'm not gonna do it. And he's like, yes, you are. It's gonna happen. And guess what? It happens. Okay, it happens. This book is amazing. This was a 6-star read for me. I love it so much. There's definitely more than what I've said about this book. This book, to me, has the most darkness in it. It's not dark, but this one does have a case of assault and attempted sexual assault in this one, so be prepared. And then there's something about Grimm's that I don't want to spoil, but it definitely has to do with Garrett having black eyes and all these shadows swirling around Lavinia. I'll just say that. Okay, I'll just say that. Also, this one has some very sexy times, okay? There's a reason why it's called Always Practice Safe Hex, okay? Make sure you practice safe. Make sure you have a safe word if you need it. Make sure your being living inside of you is going to be good to your girlfriend. That's what I have to say, okay? Perfection. This book is perfect. And then, the book we've all been waiting for, and we're very excited to read, is Resting Witch Face, which is coming out today, the day you're watching this. And in it, we finally get to understand Jules and Reuben. Okay, there we go. There they are. That's beautiful. I'll put that down now. So through this series, we have come to know that Jules and Reuben knew each other before, and that they even dated before. We don't quite know what the timeline was or what happened or why Jules said no or why she has some animosity for him and doesn't want to work with him all the way back in Wolf Gone Wild. But she gets over that, and they have a working relationship as him being the vampire overlord of New Orleans and her being the enforcing witch of New Orleans. And she is a siphon, which means when she is doling out justice, she can siphon away a other being's power to like stop them from using it. We get to see her do that at different times, which is really cool. Jules is a badass. She's actually also, as I said, the oldest sister, so she's in her 40s, which is great. This is an older love character situation. I'm not calling people in their 40s old, but in general, when we usually have 20-year-olds, this is really great. This is, as we said, a second chance romance, and it also becomes a road trip and a only one bed, forced proximity. There is a super possessive hero who is not going to wait anymore. As I have kind of been hinting at, well, not hinting at, saying with these other books, the Savoy sisters have been working towards helping werewolves throughout this series. And honestly, it's so cool to me because I knew that's what was going to happen in this book after reading Safe Hex. I knew that Jules and Reuben were going to be interceding on behalf of the werewolves to get them a place on supernatural councils, as well as using the, witch technology that Violet has uncovered to help them be more in control of their beast. And because they're going to be able to be in more control of their beast, they need to stop being referred to as animals and not given a say on anything. And so Jules, who, when we see her in the beginning of this series, is very much like, we don't want to work with werewolves. We don't want anything to do with them. They cause problems. They're dangerous. Through her experiences in the past couple of years, she has learned that she's wrong about that. And I love seeing a character who is as powerful as she is, be as wise as she is, and want to do good for, that she didn't have to do. She didn't have to do because nobody else in the supernatural world is making a fuss about this. Not even totally the wolves themselves. Like, they're just have their packs and they try not to cause trouble that will cause them to be taken out, and like that's it. But Jules and Reuben, using both his connections that he has in different places, they go on a road trip through parts of the United States and then into the UK to plead their case to the different covens, which the coven heads is currently, it's supposed to be a Grimm, a vampire, and a witch in all these different places. And so they do this. And as they go about this, there's times for Reuben to woo his lady. Like, that's what's going on. That's what's happening. And it's just so beautiful. Like, we find out what kept them apart. It does take a while. I know for some people that was, who've read the arc so far have said that it takes a while to find out. But for me, I appreciated that because we slowly start to uncover what was going on. We see them have you know, some little spats about it, of course. Like they've been kept apart because of this certain event, this thing that happened. And Reuben is totally over it. Jules wants to be over it, but she doesn't know if she can. She'd given up hope of her and Reuben being able to be together. So this definitely has a pining hero. This has a badass heroine. This has a couple who are both like alphas in their own right, learning to work together to be a team. And together they can take on anything. And again, as with Safe Hex, this definitely has some darker elements to this story, especially the ending of this. There is some violence and gore and torture that happens at the end. This to me was the spiciest one in the series. This was the sexiest. This had such great emotional pull between them. Gareth and Livy were a lot of like fun, sexy time. I mean, it got emotional too, but they were more just like, let's do it. But Jules and Reuben, leading up to their first intimate encounter in the book, it like brought tears to my eyes because they have such a deep care for each other that they have suppressed. Well, mostly Jules has suppressed because, again, she's a badass witch who has stuff to do. She literally is resting witch face. Like, it's funny too because when you reread Wolf Gone Wild, her sister even says she has resting bitch face. So it was funny to see that callback. So I've talked far too long about it. Of course, we shall not forget Grim and Barrett will be coming out early next year, and that will be the final book in Stay a Spell, which is so exciting. She also has, as I've said, more books coming with Beauville. There should be some more books with Smarty Pants and Romance, and hopefully full-on dark romance eventually. That is what Juliette wants to do in future years, which I'm so excited for. But this series, as I said, currently is going to go down as her best, most well-received, and most exciting series. Like, it's fantastic, but I hope you will try some of these other books that I've recommended and mentioned because damn, they're good and they deserve to be looked at as well. So thank you so much for watching this. Please make sure you follow Juliette on her socials and that you know, pre-order future books as they come. I hope you've downloaded Resting Witch Face. I hope you binge all these books and send all the love to my friend. And Juliette, if you're watching this, girl, I love you so much. Thank you for writing books that just touch my heart and make me happy all the time when I think of them. Like, your books bring a smile to my face. So thank you so much. Oh, I just love you. And you all, I hope I'll see you next time. Have a great day.